I'm just on here practicing some more. I really got to get comfortable with something before I start using it on a regular basis. My lives aren't really going to be like me being a talking head and having a stream of consciousness. That's not really my style. I'm more about sharing the learning process than me getting up here and pretending that I'm an expert in something. So I might pose questions to people and try to garner some conversation. But one of the things that my lives will probably be more about is just hopefully having people come on and feel comfortable and just impromptu conversations, just talking dogs. You don't have to be an expert, don't have to be a breeder, just somebody who wants to talk dogs and share some ideas and knowledge, or have deeper questions that they want answered from maybe from some experts. But just to basically have a conversation and build a community. So um, my lives, like I said, will not be just a stream of consciousness and me pretending to be some sort of expert. It's just hopefully to inspire some conversation. That's pretty much what these lives will be about. Like I said, right now I'm just trying to get comfortable with using this and being able to be a little more proficient and speedy with certain things that I want to do. Um, and like I said, it just takes me a little longer than probably most to feel comfortable uh, using something on a regular basis. So um, thanks for being patient while I'm practicing.
Hello.
How you doing?
Good. I like your interviews with dogs and stuff, especially with the work breeds.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I do my best to get as many people as I can with the working dogs that I find interesting.
Yeah. I didn't know you had a French bulldog. I thought you had an English bulldog.
I do. He's 11 years old. He's sleeping in my chair right now.
Oh my
I have
God,
a
old man.
Yeah, he's an old dog. I have three French bulldog puppies right now.
Interesting.
They're This one he's the biggest by far. He is 5 months old, and I have a 7 month old and a 9 month old.
And they're not the colored French bulldogs like the like the heart like the Merle ones and etc.
Actually, I did go with color because to get into the Frenchie world, it's really hard to get standard dogs of with full rights, and I want to use these dogs as stud dogs, and in particular, maybe some outcross programs in the future. Um, but yeah, that's a subject matter that maybe I'd like to talk about someday in the future on these lives. Is just about like it's really hard to get standard colored dogs and get full rights, and I'm not one to sign contracts and go through all the loopholes and pay $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 more for full rights. It's just not something that I'm interested in playing that game.
So like the colors are like the AKC colors, not the the unregistered colors, right?
Well, you can actually register these dogs, but yeah, but I get what you're saying. Yes, the AKC standard French Bulldog Club of America type dogs are really hard to get your hands on, and you can get them as a pet. But if you plan on using them for any kind of breeding stock, good luck. Especially if you're not going to show the dog, or you plan on maybe using it for some outcrosses.
Fair enough.
they're just not going to work with you. That's part of the problem that I think that doesn't get talked about a lot, because there's a lot of discomfort around colored dogs, is that these AKC breed club type people are pretty stingy with their blood, and it it really kind of it kind of really shuts out passionate people who would do right by the dog no matter what, like I would and my wife would, but they're not interested in working with you unless you play their game. And I'm the last one to go by somebody else's rules. If I'm going to spend 5,000 for a puppy, then it's going to be my puppy, and I'm going to be able to do with what I want. And unfortunately, with the color dogs, the French and the English, they're more apt to help you out with breeding stock. It's just the game these days.
What are your thoughts on the quote unquote long hair French bulldogs?
I don't want to pass judgment. I've actually run across a few, and I like them as far as dogs are concerned and pets, but they're
not a French bulldog.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah,
but like I said, if I got a good deal on one and it was of a quality where I could use in a breeding program, I would think about it. 2 years, 3-4 years ago, I would have probably laughed at you if I had this current mindset. I would have said you're nuts. There's no way. But I really look now at the kind of the pure dog world and pure breed world and the AKC world kind of as a really short-sighted and stingy, and they're not really, they talk about preservation breeding, but they're really just hoarding on to their bloodlines, and they're not really letting people get a hold of them. And then if they do, it's with all these stipulations and rules, and I'm a grown man. I'm 49 years old. I just don't want to go by somebody else's rules, and I definitely don't want to get involved in the show world or be forced to get involved in it. You know what I mean?
Fair enough. I guess it depends on breeders, and it depends on breeds in general. But yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of good quality colored breeders out there. Unfortunately, there's a lot of trash as well, and I think that's what gets highlighted, especially when it comes to people like yourself who are more into working dogs. You kind of get confirmation bias with people in your own circle and what your own viewing habits are. So you get to see, that's all you see is the trashy ones. But if you do a deep enough research, you do find some really quality people out there doing good things with the color dogs and health testing and doing all that kind of thing that even your AKC French Bulldog Club of America or whatever breed club it is that aren't doing. But I see both sides of the point here, and I agree with both of it. It's just, for me, where I'm at my age, wanting to get involved in breeding and want to doing it this way with stud dogs, I didn't necessarily want to play the game,
Have you interviewed some Labrador people yet?
Sorry about that. Allergies killing me here in the Midwest. I've tried. I've actually tried to get some field lab people. I've reached out to maybe 4 or 5 and no response. I did get a response by one person, but they wanted to talk more about the training aspects, and and they were kind of rude. So I just said, nah, I'm not interested. I'd rather hear about your breeding program and the traits that you strive to recreate. So they didn't want to talk to me about that for whatever reason. So, but I'm going to continue to try to get some good field labs and any kind of bird dog out there. Definitely.
Yeah, because many years now I'm actually going to Mississippi to get a Labrador puppy. Um, I'm not going to mention the breeder's name because yeah, I just don't want to. But
Yeah.
her kennel is called Three Lake Labradors, I believe, and she has like one of the best Labradors out there. Like her dogs are field trial dogs. There are shed dogs, which means that they retrieve like deer antlers and shit like that. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and also like what she's doing is that she sometimes breeds field and English together because on one side she told me that the the show labs have better correct coat while the field dogs have more shorter coat, if that makes sense, because Labradors back in the day, they worked in the Labrador Sea because their coats were very thick. But sometimes, but most breeders are not focusing on coat. I heard.
Interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. That was a question I would probably ask somebody is, the differences between the English and the American field lines, and then
And
also crossing them.
there's
Yeah,
also
definitely.
another line. It's called British Field Lines. They're
Mm,
technically working. They're still working lines, but
mm-hmm.
working lines, the British field dogs are completely different. I heard that the field people in Britain work different with their dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, I heard that the field lines are very sensitive, which I never noticed because labs are not sensitive to train. They're just dopey dogs. They're smart, but they're dopey. Like they're
Mm-hmm.
like they can't remember things.
Right.
But yeah,
It, from what I've heard and kind of been around a little bit is that um, the working labs definitely have a temperament that most passive dog fanciers don't know, that they're a little sharper and a little more edgy um, than your pet lab.
yeah,
Have you noticed that?
yeah. I noticed that. Like the field dogs are more they're more outgoing, like
Hmm.
to please you and stuff. While the show labs like seem to be a little bit more distracted in
Hmm.
a sense. But yeah, and also the breeder, she also has a couple of English labs, and one of her English labs is actually faster than some of her field dogs. Which
Really, that's interesting.
yeah, because and she's a nice looking dog too.
I really like those labs in English labs and the field labs. I really do.
Yeah,
They're
like
good looking dogs. Hmm.
but it's breeders that but it's breeders in some of the show rings that f them up in with the show labs because the show labs are fat. They have those big giant heads, and that's not what they supposed to look like. But her dogs, couple of her English labs, like I said, is like they're very thin and very agile. You know, which is
Hmm.
you know
Yeah, that's what I've noticed, that they are. They look differently and they act differently, and they have different drives. I know that. So yeah, it just makes sense, and I agree with you that the show ring has really kind of taken you know done a disservice to a lot of working style breeds out there. It's done a
yeah,
lot of disservice to all dogs, even the non-sporting, non-working type dogs as well. It's just they're I recently listened to a podcast episode that I kind of talked about the other night. Was um, an animal geneticist who happens also to be a a vet on the front lines. He's done a lot of research on some of your brachycephalic breeds like French bulldogs, and his conclusion is that a lot of the problems are directly related to breeding to an extreme, instead of breeding to moderation and breeding more towards a functional dog, even if it's just a pet, right? So, say take French bulldogs for example, maybe a slightly more elongated muzzle to a slightly a little bit more elongated back, straighter fronts, those sorts of things, better rear angulation for the hips and all that sort of thing. So just slightly tweaking some of that standard and bringing it into a more healthier functioning type of look.
Yeah. By the way, I have a Doberman.
Oh, really? There's another podcast. How old is your Doberman?
He's 3.
He's 3.
Yeah, and he's gonna be 4 this year.
Is he from American or European lines?
European.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just that with Dobermans, they're ruined. Well, obviously most breeds are ruined, but Dobermans seem to be one of the most breeds that are ruined because
Say,
um,
say that again. I got a phone call. I'm gonna put this on airplane mode. There we go.
Dobermans are ruined as well because like in the show ring they're skittish. In some European countries, like Italy and Russia, um, some of these dogs are deep chested, which I noticed, and that's not what a Doberman should look like. A Doberman is supposed to be a medium to large dog, because back in
Mm-hmm.
the day, Dobermans were around 70 pounds for males. Females were 50 pounds, or 70 something pounds. My dog is 73. You know, and and also like his parents, for some reason, like the father was one of those like hyper type dogs. He
Mm-hmm.
wasn't deep chested, thank God, but he was still like one of those like those oversized Dobermans, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's interesting. There was another podcast directly related to Dobermans and the health issues that they've been suffering. That if you email me, I'll send you a link. It's really interesting the research they've done, and they talked about the outcross projects that they've had to try to eliminate the DM and all of that sort of thing. But their conclusions were pretty interesting, and they studied American lines and European lines. So their precursor conclusions were very interesting. It'd be something that you might be interested in listening to since you have a Doberman.
Oh, I know that there's another breeder. There's a Doberman breeder you should interview. Her name is her name is Savannah. Her kennel is called Bitchmark Kennels. I don't know if you ever heard of her or not.
She out of Minnesota,
No, she lives in Ohio.
Ohio. Okay, maybe not. If I saw it, I might recognize, but it doesn't come off ringing a bell at this moment.
Yeah, well, she breeds mostly working line European Dobermans
Uh
because
huh.
the dogs that the European dogs that we know, those dogs are actually, some of them are the FCI show line Dobermans.
Uh huh.
Some of them, but some of them are like I said, the ones that are like hyper type or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And her dogs were were literally like the original Doberman, around much smaller, more agile and stuff. Sometimes she does breed American lines into her program,
Mm-hmm.
but she does PSA training and etc.
That was the conclusion with um, this project that was studying Doberman genetics, that it was a good idea to outcross the lines for health. And part of the problem with some of the European dogs is that they're so strict with not outcrossing to say American lines, or if they're coming from working lines, they'll never go to a show line or a pet line. And they said that the less percentage of coefficiency of inbreeding, the better at this point, to reduce some of the risks of DMs. And the dogs that they studied that came from more what you might say scatterbred were living longer and healthier.
Yeah.
And they didn't lose necessarily, they didn't have to lose type.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big-
But yeah, it's interesting that there's just so much to it. We think of European lines as just being Europe, but there's different European lines even, right?
Yeah, and some of them are the extreme as well because they have those giant head,
Yeah.
those giant big, well, floppy jowl, mastiff
Yeah.
dog, and deep chested, like I said. And when you have a deep chested dog, that dog's gonna that dog's gonna suffer as it gets older.
Yeah. I just wonder. Uh, the conclusion of this study is that the European lines were actually worse off than the American lines as far as health, and they didn't live as long. A lot of it is because the breed clubs are so strict with the outcrossing and all of that sort of thing. And what was interesting also is that they're very strict on health testing and doing all those things to help alleviate some of these issues. And the reality is you can't health test your way out of the issue. You really got to. It's a bigger picture. Health tests are just a tool, and they're not. They're not the golden rule. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people, when you talk about health tested dogs, uh, are really kind of using that more as, to me, as a virtue signal or a marketing ploy, because it's no guarantee that you're having a healthier dog. You're just having a better picture of what your dogs genetically carry. You're not really necessarily breeding healthier dogs.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more to it than just getting a health test.
Yeah, and in American, the show ring, Dobermans are very skittish, and I don't know
Yeah.
why people
Yeah.
have skittish dogs in the show ring because, like in the show ring, dogs have to be confident, like
Yeah.
working dogs are, and you want a confident dog. You don't want a skittish dog.
That's a really good point too, because I really like some of the American lines and even the American show lines as far as their aesthetics and their looks. But I've heard that they're just not proper working dogs. They try to get them into some competition, and they crumble pretty quickly, and that's why they end up outcrossing or just going straight from working European lines.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, that's interesting that you say that. That's because, yeah, you're right. Again, you'd think that these American showline people would want to breed some of the original temperament back into it, but they're so set in stone. It's like they don't want to think about the bigger picture.
yeah, it's like the drive. They want to get rid of the drive. It's just like with the Dogo people too in the show ring. Like once when the Dogo was registered, they took the they took the drive away for the Dogo, and the Dogo Argentino is the ultimate or was the ultimate boar hunting dog, but now it's been taken because it's so rare to find them.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think you're right. They do try to water them down because it just makes for a better show dog. But I think part of the problem with the AKC, it's so gosh darn stuffy that
Yeah.
you know what I mean. You're wearing a suit and you're running around with your penny loafers on and with your dainty wrist and all of that sort of thing. It just seems like it should be more of a working man sport than it is. And I think if it was, I think the show world wouldn't be looked kind of like as a laughing stock that it is by some of the working dog people, if it actually represented at least a resemblance of working dogs.
Yeah, at least that not all of the breeds are ruined in the show ring, but most are. Like even the Mals too. Mals are ruined.
Oh yeah, they look a lot different. They look like almost like they're shepherd mixed with whippet or something.
And they're skittish too.
Yeah, you can't mess with that. I don't know. I don't like skittish. The fact that they're skittish.
Yeah.
I'd rather put up with maybe a dog that you have to keep on a tight leash so they don't try to attack everything out under the sun in the ring. But than a skittish dog that probably fear bite somebody.
Yeah. I know that there's a couple of breeds that are not ruined yet, or at least a little. And that's the Bolseron. Bolserons are not ruined yet.
Mm.
Although with for some of them, some of the male, I noticed that some of the male Bolseron specimens are oversized. Like some of them look like 110 pounds, and I'm like, Jesus Christ! Like aren't it's a herding dog. It should be at least be like more agile to catch the sheep. You know?
Yeah, I agree with you. That's one of the things that I have a hard problem with all breeds is um, sticking to a supposed standard when you can see right in front of you that standard doesn't lend itself to a healthier, more functional dog, whether it's a Pekingese or a Belgian Malinois. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. At, at least that with the sight hounds, at least they're not ruined. At least most of them.
I hear that they're a little nervy, that they may not do well in the field or something like that, like some of your whippets and greyhounds. But as far as health and being able to run, yeah, I hear that there's a lot of dual purpose dogs still in the show ring and in the competition field.
Well, when I was a couple of years ago, when I was at a show ring, there's feral hound came up to me and he was all happy, 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 and stuff, and I'm like, oh shit, you know what a feral hound is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like those things are pretty looking dogs.
Oh yeah, I really like the running dogs. I love them, and part of the reason I like them so much is because I have a Turkish Shepherd, and
Oh,
those dogs have running dogs in them, running hounds, Saluki type dogs, way back in their lineage. So, and you could tell their movement and everything. But yeah, I love those. Every single sight hound that I've been around has been the greatest dog. Just the absolute joy to be around. Like they could be a terror in the field, like rip a rabbit to shreds, but they come inside and they're just the most loving, peaceful dog in the world. And I really like that aspect of them.
another breed group that are not ruined yet is some of the terriers, like the Airedale's not ruined. Um, and by the way, we had an Airedale, but she passed away from autoimmune disease.
Oh, really?
Yeah, sucks. Kerry Blues are not ruined. Scottish Terriers are actually getting better because back in the day they used to have a disease called the Scotty cramp or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're trying to get rid of it. Westies are good. Most of the Terriers are good.
I really like the Norwich Terriers.
Those are the ones that have like a fox-like head, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like them too.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I like a lot of those terrier breeds. I actually want to cross one of my Frenchies to a Patterdale
Oh,
to
that's
really piss a lot of people off, but it also make some people turn some heads, maybe. But we'll see.
what I don't understand though is that with Jack Russell, well, in AKC they call them Parson Russells, but if you have a working line of those dogs, they're called actual Jack Russells. I'm like, what is it? Is it a Parson Russell or is it a Jack Russell?
Huh? I set out like in Europe and in North America, like I don't know, like 20 requests for Parson Russells and Russell Terriers and Jack Russell breeders, and no takers yet, which is interesting to me.
Maybe they're busy.
Busy, or they're, a lot of times I feel like some of these breeds have a lot of politics, so they don't want to get on any podcast and talk about dogs. They just try to stick to themselves.
Yeah, that's why like in the Russell community, like they're arguing back and forth of Jack Russell or Parson Russell or whatever. I'm like,
Yeah,
just I don't know. They're just weird.
yeah, yeah. I really like some of those Parson Russells, the way they look and everything. I love Jack Russells.
Yeah.
They're hard to hone sometimes, though. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Unless you have big land.
yeah, yeah. They take a lot of space, even though they're small.
Yeah. I would love to get a miniature bull terrier because the minis have a lot of muscle because they have more bulldog in them. That's why I really like them a lot.
Actually, when I attempted to get one uh, about 2 months ago, and I failed, but just because they won't give me full rights. They want me to do things like sign show contracts, or only sell me dogs with limited rights. And I just like, well, to each his own. Forget it. I'm out.
That's just dumb.
Well, and the couple of breeders that I did try to get dogs from, which is interesting and kind of hypocritical. I'm kind of I'm pretty opinionated, so I try to quell my opinionated nature when I'm doing this. But needless to say, I didn't think highly of the fact that I know a couple of these breeders actually imported dogs themselves, and part of the reason why they imported dogs from Eastern Europe was, besides the good pedigree and the good dogs, is the fact that they could get dogs for full rights, where
Huh.
they couldn't get dogs even as breeders with full rights. If and they needed There's so few bloodlines in the United States and in Canada that they do have to pay attention to coefficiency of inbreeding because their percentages are so high. We're talking up to 35%, which is extremely high, just because there's so few specimens in North America. So,
Yeah. I guess that
but
makes sense.
so yeah, it doesn't make sense why these people are so stringent on holding on to their bloodlines and not letting people have them and use them the way they see fit. As long as they're taking care of these dogs and paying homage to the breeder that they got the puppy from. I don't get it, especially if I'm going to spend $3,500 for a dog. But
Yeah.
it's just a weird game. I don't like it. I don't like that side of the dog world. But yeah, I've attempted to get a mini bull terrier, and then I actually attempted to look into getting um, importing them.
What are you gonna
Uh,
do with them? Hunt with them?
no, I would just use them as a functional pet and stud them out.
Oh.
Yeah, and then to be honest with you, I would use them in outcross projects.
Because for me, like if I had a mini bull, I would love them to hunt like larger vermin like groundhogs and shit like that because I noticed
Mhm.
that the standard bull terriers people don't use them to hunt, but the mini bulls people use them to hunt them with more. And I think the
Hmm.
reason why is because the standard bull terrier is kind of ruined. I noticed while the mini bulls are not. If that makes sense.
Yeah, there's big a big community. I say big; it's just relatively big compared to some other breeds that they have a separate style of bull terrier. They call it the working line bull terriers, and usually those are dogs that have been mixed with American Pit Bull Terrier. Like they're usually 3/4 Bull Terrier and 1/4 American Pit Bull Terrier, and they're the ones that you probably would see in hunting hogs and stuff like that.
Yeah, but obviously I don't have pigs in my state. Since I live in the state of New Jersey.
Oh yeah,
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 I would just
yeah,
use them to hunt groundhogs
yeah,
and
yeah.
rabbits and shit. Matter of
You got
fact, I'm actually making my dog as a catch dog with rabbits.
there. You go. I mean, that's a good thing. The Dobies are pretty athletic. Do you guys have a lot of coyotes in the country out there?
Yeah, we do, but they're so rare. I never seen
Um,
a coyote yet, but I
mhm.
know that they're rare. And apparently, what I heard is that the coyotes were imported on train because there was a lot of deer population in the state of New Jersey. But I don't know if it's true or not. It's a lot of back and forth really
Is there a
about.
lot of is there a lot of laws regarding hunting with dogs?
I don't know. I'm not a hunter myself.
Yeah, where I'm originally from, Oregon, there's some recent laws in the last few years that have been really stopped a lot of hunting with dogs. Um,
I mean, you should. I mean, New Jersey, you should hunt with dogs. I just
mhm.
don't see why not.
Yeah, they call it inhumane. Like you can't like hunting big cats and stuff like that with dogs is against the law in Oregon. Same with
Well,
bear. You can't do that anymore.
that's just dumb because dogs are very important. If you want to chase the cat up a tree, or if you want to use your dogs to like chase after the cat but not kill the cat, just like kind of a teaching as a lesson. Like don't
Mhm.
go to this spot. You know, like what are you supposed to do now without the hounds?
Yeah, no, it's pretty ridiculous. It's
Yeah,
just feel good legislation that us coastal people had to put up with. That's why I moved to the Midwest. I don't have to put up with that kind of stuff anymore.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Are
I
you?
what?
Is there a pretty? New Jersey doesn't seem like there's a large um, dog community. Am I
N-
wrong?
Not do I know of. Yeah, not do I know of. I know that like, and we don't have like big wildlife and stuff. The only thing we have is just deer and foxes, coyotes, and raccoons and etc. We don't have big cats like
Hmm.
bobcats, lynxes, cougars, etc. We
Hmm.
do have black bear in New Jersey. Black back Black bears do live in New Jersey, but they're so rare
Mm.
to find.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What about the surrounding states? Do you know much about them?
Uh, uh
Pennsylvania probably has more going on as far as
probably,
hunting and all that. Yeah.
probably, yeah,
Yeah.
they probably do. I know, and also like it is legal to hunt ducks, and obviously in New Jersey, and people do use labs to hunt ducks in the
Yeah.
state of New Jersey.
Yeah.
I don't know if I will be a hunter or not. It's gonna be years from now anyway. But I know that I'm doing field trials with a lab, and
Yeah.
obviously, well, my parents argued, and well, my dad and my younger brother said that, oh, you need to be a hunter if you want to do field trials. No, that's not necessarily true. You can start field trials at any time if you want to. It's not like a real hunting sport. It's an AKC event, you know.
Yeah, I think I've heard that some kind of your higher end folks don't actually hunt, but are pretty ranked pretty high up in the field trials. So yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, because apparently what I heard is that they shoot the duck for you,
Uh
and
huh.
the dog retrieves the duck. I know that people say that, oh, it's animal cruelty. Well, I think that it's probably a domesticated duck. I don't know, but I don't know what they
Yeah.
do with the ducks anyway. But anyways, they shoot the duck for you, and the dog retrieves it. And well, retrieves the duck.
Hmm.
Dog has to go. Like the dog can't be distracted.
Hmm.
Dog has to focus on the bird.
Yeah, no, I know it's not an easy sport, and you have to put in a lot of work to get the dogs geared up for it.
Oh, and you know what's also a hard sport, but it's also getting banned too. IGP now. I heard rumors that IGP make it. Uh, IGP's rare to find because there's some animal rights law that thinking that IGP makes the dog like vicious and
Hmm.
cruel and stuff like that. No, IGP dogs are actually nice dogs still. A pet dog can be an asshole. You know,
Yeah, for sure.
matter of
That's
fact,
interesting.
my dog when we went to Fast Cat, my dad actually was holding a Cane Corso that was doing IGP.
Mm.
Yeah, because apparently in Fast Cat, there's only two people. You probably heard of Fast Cat before,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it's good
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. There's two people there. You hold the dog, and then you catch the dog. After the final chase to
Hmm.
lasso him up. Yeah. So my dad helped this guy, and the Corso dragged him, and he fell.
Oh no,
Yeah, but he
yeah,
he got the course. He got him up.
that's good. That's
Yeah.
good.
But man, like Cane Corsos are strong as hell.
Yeah, they're big, strong dogs. Um, I really like some Corsos. I like Neos even more, believe it or not. But yeah, I
Which
like Corsos.
which ones? The working Neos or the ones that are ruined?
I like more your athletic looking one. Wouldn't necessarily have to be working for me, but maybe a little less overdone for sure. I even like what I really like is kind of your Neo Corso crosses, but I
Yeah.
don't want to say that too loud because I still want to talk to some Neo people because I'm really interested in that breed and I'm in negotiations with somebody, a prominent breeder of Neos, to come on and do an episode for me.
Yeah, that's true. I'm honestly like I'm kind of a fan of crosses. It's just that just breed them right though. Like I don't know. There's just I'm kind of 50-50 with them.
Yeah, it's not for everybody, and I don't try to push
Yeah.
it on
It's like
people's, but
it's like with bull herders, like breed them right. And trust me, I there was one bull herder I saw, and he was a combination of a Mal, Dutchy, and Cane Corso, and a Pit Bull Terrier.
yeah,
I was at
yeah,
a bike club like back in the summer, and this thing was a monster. Yeah,
yeah. I like some of those bull herders.
yeah. And
I've
a
seen some that have been mixed with like Pressa, even that's been really nice looking dogs.
and a bull herder is basically like a herding dog crossed with a bulldog type or a mastiff type, right?
I think they would probably classify it the not if it didn't have any bull blood in it, maybe as a uh, herding band dog type thing.
Okay.
I don't think they would call it bull herder unless it had some bull blood in it.
Oh, because I always thought that a bull herder is just either a bulldog or a mastiff type mixed
Yeah,
with or crossed with some of the herding dogs. Like for example, if you have a pit bull and a border collie, that's a bull herder.
yeah. Hmm.
You know.
Talk about a crazy combo there. That would be an extremely athletic, smart dog.
Yeah, but it would be an ugly dog too.
It probably would be, but man, would it be? Would it be? Somebody posted a couple months ago an English Bulldog Border Collie mix, and it looked really good.
Ugh, ugh,
I'm
ugh.
telling you, it looked really good. You'd be surprised.
I can't even imagine that.
There's
Th-
some really good sport crosses that they use for like Fast Cat and Flyball and stuff that they use Border Collie, Border Terrier mixed with Staffy Bull and Whippet.
that's an interesting combination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
It's
they're
just like I'm
good.
looking for not just for not just for athleticness. I also like beauty because on how elegant they look. You know, like even some. I bet some bull herders look very elegant and beautiful looking.
Well, to be honest with you, I really like the dogs that kind of your KMBV lines and your dogs that come from working lines over there, as far as Dutch and Belgian, because they do have, you know, secretly mixed some bull blood in them, so they still kind of have a broader head, and they just look more aesthetically pleasing. And they're harder dogs too. They're much more geared towards pr- real protection work.
Yeah, but what I also don't like is when people oversize them. Like I know that there was someone that had a quote unquote oversized Belgian Malinois, and that thing was like 110 pounds. I'm like, that's not what a Mal should look like. A
Yeah, that's
Mal,
yeah.
like for me, like if I want a large specimen of a Mal, 75 pounds would do. 75-pound Mal would be enough, not a 110-pound Mal. Like that's just dumb.
Yeah, 75-pound Mal would probably be optimum as if you're going to do like police work or something. The only difficulty is trying to handle a bigger sized dog. I uh I happened to work around a field where there was um, law enforcement dogs, and I saw somebody run around with two Malinois on each arm, and the Mal wasn't they weren't big enough to take the person down right away. It needed two people in uniform to help bring them down besides the dogs. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's the only downside that I see with those dogs, but they perform really well at their duties.
I
Some can actually,
I
easily take a man down, but
I seen some of those. I saw one 75-pound Mal actually when I was at this police place that they were doing like this police dog show,
uh-huh.
and this 75-pound Mal was very majestic looking. And apparently, the guy told me that in some places they use a little bit of Great Dane secretly and American Pit Bull Terrier in them. Like, really?
Mhm.
Because I don't see the Dane in them, but I guess it's the size. Even though that
Mm.
Danes are much bigger than 75 pounds, but yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't know about the Great Dane, but I definitely knew about the American Pit Bull Terrier.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Adding American Pit Bull Terrier to any kind of working dog, it just puts it in overdrive, doesn't it?
Yeah. Even though that I know you're going to be shocked, but I'm not a fan of the American Pit Bull Terrier because they're too animal aggressive, and I
Hmm.
like dogs that work together.
Hmm.
Like even police dogs work together when they take down a bad guy.
Hmm.
You don't want a dog. You don't want two dogs fighting. You know, over I don't know, like a pig, for example, or fighting over a bad guy. You know,
Yeah.
and pit bull terriers are one of those dogs. I heard.
They are. They were bred for one purpose,
Yeah,
despite what anybody might want to say. They were bred for one purpose, and that was the pit. And
and they're hunting
so,
dogs too.
yeah, they can do it all for sure.
But
But
I
their main purpose was the pit.
what I also don't like is when people use American pit bull terriers in personal protection work. Maybe IGP, yeah, but personal protection work, I don't know.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I'm hold on just one sec. I'm actually kind of torn. I've seen some dogs that are good at it, and it gives them an outlet. But is but how efficient they would be and all that, I don't know. They perform really well when they're doing the stuff, but do they have the right temperament? I guess
Yeah,
is the answer.
because remember, according to the temperament, the American Pit Bull Terrier they're friendly. They're friendly like a lab.
Yeah, they're not supposed to be man aggressive at all.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and that's what the what people should have an American Pit Bull Terrier, is that they're supposed to be friendly towards people, but not friendly towards animals. But it's like, if you want to get a dog that does IGP or whatever, or personal protection work, just go get a Mal or a Shepherd. Or
Yeah,
if you don't want that, then do something else. Like, I understand, like, people like off breeds, but like, don't get the the lesser common off breeds. Like, I even heard that Dobermans are an off breed.
yeah. I don't know if they would be considered off breeds back in the day, but yeah, they're not as prevalent in that world anymore, are they?
Yeah, I mean, they're the most common off breeds.
Yeah, yeah. Same with
Rotties and
giant schnauzers.
yeah, them too.
Hmm. Yeah, I would love to see some more dogs doing. I've seen some Beaucerons that have done it,
Oh,
but
I love Volcerons.
you talk to certain Beauceron people and they're totally against that. So that's probably why you don't see more of it.
Yeah, because apparently Volceron, some Volcerons are just not as bred for doing that. I know there's a lady in Texas who actually does um, protection work with her Volceron, and her Volceron's big.
Really.
Big male, really tall, but he's not very fat or anything like that,
Hmm.
like some of those show ring Volcerons. But man, he's a monster.
What's your thought on the some of your Mastiff breeds in doing protection work like your presses and your Corsos?
I mean, I like them. Like, it's just they have a lot of muscle power because they can easily pin down a person to the ground. They use more body weight. They're more of a body weight type dog
Hmm.
to pin down a person, instead of like your Shepherds or Dobermans. They just more of a they just want to use full speed
Hmm.
to work. A Mastiff is just a brick.
Hmm.
Like, even a Rottweiler is considered as a Mastiff, and they use their body weight.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, those are good dogs. I've heard that they've been temperament wise, they don't lend itself to competing as much anymore.
Yeah. I know that, like, places like for the Rottweiler group, well, Rotties are ruined, some of them, but if you go to Germany, they're not ruined. And there's
Mm-hmm.
a place called the ADRK, which is their own kennel club, you could say, in Germany. And it's just basically like the FCI, you could say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know if you ever heard of the ADRK before.
Yes, I have for sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, oh, my bad.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've looked up a lot of their dogs and try to reach out to people. It's
Yeah.
kind of tough to talk to some of the Germans. There's so many rules and regulations there that they get kind of skitterish when it comes to talking live about dogs. Um, so it's hard to get some of those people to come on
Yeah.
because they're just constantly being bombarded by the animal rights folks. So they have to constantly worry about offending somebody.
What I don't like with people in well in the Rottweiler group is that people like breed these little Rotties that have like these short faces. I'm like, no, that's not what a Rottie should look like. A
Yeah.
Rottie's snout is supposed to be in between short and long. It's not supposed to be very long, and it's not supposed to be very short. It's in between.
Huh.
Yeah,
Yeah, they do kind of look weird, don't they? It's
yeah,
definitely a recent mutation, not a natural thing, is it?
yeah. Yeah, like when you interview that lady, that Rottweiler breeder, I was a little 50-50 with her, but when I was on her Facebook, she was actually pretty cool. She doesn't breed those long snouted dogs or anything. She just breeds like her dogs are just basically like your traditional Rottweiler. You know the lady I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, no, she's a really cool person. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. She's pretty dedicated to what she does. Yeah, I like her dogs a lot.
yeah,
Me personally, again, my personal preference is I like everything in between. So I kind of like uh, an in between, an overdone, and a athletic dog. I like that in between look,
yeah,
and I, you know, it doesn't have to be a crazy working dog for me. It's just if it has that look and an ability to move, and but also the the aesthetics that I like. So I do like a big broad head on a Rottweiler, but I
yeah,
don't like that short muzzle either.
yeah. I also like, well, for Rotties, I always like to focus on head and snout because
Yeah,
Rotties have a big head and their snouts are in between.
yeah.
But some people don't listen.
No, they don't. It's really, in Europe they have the opposite problem we do. They're so strict that they limit their ability to um, breed outside bloodlines to make their dogs even better. And so a lot of times they line breed and or they just breed in the same lines all the time, and so you're not really getting any kind of hybrid vigor or anything like that. And then the Americans are the opposite. They just breed to whatever, so you it's there's to me there's issues on both sides. There needs to be some sort of happy medium.
Yeah, that's why places like in Germany are the best place to get a Rottweiler, in my opinion.
I would honestly say I would probably go to Serbia if I found a proper one.
Serbia's ruined. Most of the Serbian dogs are ruined because they have those short snouts.
Yeah, I agree with you, but there are some out there that don't do it that way. So you have to really pay attention and find the dogs
That
that
is true.
yeah.
That is true because when I went to a dog show the second time, I did see a Rottweiler that was imported from Serbia, and he had a
Mhm.
nice correct head. Pretty big boy though,
Mhm.
pretty
Yeah,
big,
yeah,
but
that's what they do breed them big up there. Yeah,
he still had a correct snout. But his snout wasn't those pushing bull mastiff like faces.
right. It's funny too because I see these show people with these imports, and I get it just kind of like, I know why you went there because you want some of that bloodline, and then you don't have to worry about playing the game with a fellow American breeder. You can get a dog for full rights for half the price, but yet
Yeah,
they want to charge guys like us $10,000 for their prized possessions and give us partial rights. And meanwhile, they're playing the import game. Yeah, I just don't like that hypocrisy.
yeah,
No, there are a lot of good Serbian folks out there breeding good dogs. You just got to find the right ones.
yeah. And I mean a lot of research.
Yeah, it's really a crapshoot too. Yeah, because you're going to deal with the language barrier. But now there's a rule where you can't import dogs. You got to wait like 6 months.
Yeah,
They're in coming in August. The CDC is really cramped down on it, so there's going to be a lot less imports coming in.
CDC.
Yeah,
What's
Center for
that?
Disease Control, because what
Oh
ended
yeah,
up
yeah, yeah, yeah.
what ended up happening is they're saying it's because people were bringing dogs, importing purebred dogs from Eastern Europe that had rabies and stuff like that. Well, there might have been some of that, but the bigger issue was actually the importation of, which they're not going to talk about unless you do. you talk to the right people and you're going to get the truth. But they were importing these rescue dogs to put them in rescue shelters out here, and they had a massive influx of rabies and all other kinds of diseases. So now they came up with this rule, and now it's screwing up the pure dog world. So it's really going to put a wrench in a lot of people's games. Not only the working dog world, but the show line world that do rely on, sharing bloodlines with Europe and even Canada.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we're gonna see even maybe even a bigger shortage in dogs here, not just because of the economy.
Well, that sucks.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what goes on.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to get an imported dog from Europe, but since there's rules and all, I'm just sticking to here.
Yeah, there's a lot of red tape that you got to go through that make me a little nervous, especially when you're talking about, a few $1,000. I don't have that to lose. I would be homeless. My wife would kick me out if I lost a few $1,000 on a bad deal trying to import a dog.
Yeah.
So
that's why I'd rather get a dog from like a different state instead of a country, of course.
Yeah. I would do Canada, of course. And then if I knew somebody, I would do Mexico. But we'll see with these new laws, these new rules, what they're going to allow and what they're not.
Yeah.
Well, hey man, I'm going to have to get off here. My wife just got home but I look for me to come on these coming days and maybe later on tonight.
All right.
Good talking to you. All right.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.